Hey guys, welcome to our to our weekly AMA. Hope you guys have all had a great week so far. And also, I hope you guys enjoyed our last AMA last week where we had Darcy Donovan as our special guest. That was a fun AMA to do, and yeah, she's got her exciting launch coming up, and yeah, I'm going to be talking a little bit more about marketing and that campaign among others during the AMA. But I do want to have this be a little bit of a conversational AMA. So if you guys have any comments on anything that I'm talking about, or there's going to be certain things that I actually want to, kind of just probe you guys for, your opinions, let's take it from there. First thing I wanted to mention is just the markets. They've, it's been a super weird cycle. This whole bull cycle, if I want to call it that. Markets are looking a little bit rough. I think Bitcoin just went under 100K. BNB and ETH and the other majors have pulled back a little bit as well. It's like I said, it's been a super weird cycle. Alts, some of the strong alts are, really struggling, which is, not what you would expect at this stage of the cycle. So, Crypto Mischief actually put out a great video. I think it was yesterday or day before, just talking about the market in general. And, he's basically saying, like, is the bull market over, or is there still, something coming? Are alts still gonna, really take off? And yeah, I'd suggest checking out Crypto Mischief's YouTube and giving that a watch. Good overview of the markets and just some perspective. But let's look at the charts. And markets aren't doing great. BNB's, I think, 30% or so off its high, which it hit not too long ago. We are, with Darcy and all the posts that we're getting from Darcy, we're seeing a lot more action. I'd say the action's picked up a lot more on Blue than it has on Book, but we've definitely seen more action on both. If you just look at the volume, it's Book doesn't look like it's picked up too much extra volume. It's difficult times, with what's going on in the broader markets. I know you guys have probably been hearing me say that on every AMA for the last, 2 years, but we've seen what the prior cycles looked like, and we're expecting this cycle to somewhat line up with prior cycles, and it's just for various reasons it just hasn't quite happened yet. But I still have hope that markets are going to pick up in terms of the alts, and I think that's what we really need to see to have some of our projects really take off to where we know they can get to. But in the meantime, there's other things that we can do and we will do. But yeah, if we go back to Blue, if we look at the volume on Blue, I think volume's picked up quite a bit. Yeah, so the volume is moving up. Again, BNB price has been tanking along with all the other alts, so of course that drags our prices down as well. Let's take a look at some of these comments. Michelle says, "Let's go. Passive income goals," says, "We are in the hands of the big players." Yep. I think I have to agree with that. I think, there's been more manipulation this cycle than ever in the past. I think manipulation's always been a part of crypto markets. There's manipulation even in, the biggest markets in the world, but, to a lesser extent. But when something, even crypto, obviously it's grown exponentially over the last 10 years. It still is, fairly easy to manipulate for the big players. And, they seem to be manipulating that at full force. So, but, I think some of the, just to talk about the markets for a minute, I think some of the other impacts on the markets have been, the whole meme coin super cycle narrative that was being pushed for quite a while, along with a lot of the extraction events that have occurred with some of these meme coins, where just hundreds of millions of dollars have been extracted out of the markets, whether from rug pulls or from token launches from the president of the United States, or there's just been numerous different extraction events. And I feel like that a lot of that liquidity would have naturally poured into alts, but it basically just got sucked out of the market. So I think that's a contributing factor to why this cycle's kind of doing what it's doing. But anyways, So I got a few more things I wanted to talk about. I know that I've been talking about blue bonds for a while, and I know that I had said in the past that I wanted to wait for the blue price to pick up a little bit in order to introduce some new bond markets. But I think it's time. I think we need to do something new for blue to stir things up a little bit, and I think that the bond markets were a very bullish thing for blue. So this is actually one part that I'd love to get some feedback from you guys on. Is what do you guys think about introducing some bond markets? And for those of you that participate in the bond markets, which of them are you interested in? And even further than that, if we could talk a little bit about the parameters for the bond markets that would make sense for the project and for the community and for the bond buyers. I'll start off the conversation. These are the three bonds that we've done in the past. They all had their own purpose. Obviously, the USDC bond that builds up. The USDC bond builds up the USDC in the treasury. The two LP bonds are great because I'll get to these questions in a second. But the LP bonds are great because it puts immediate buy pressure on blue, right? Because if somebody can get blue at a discount, but they've got to put up, blue plus BNB or blue plus book in order to get that discount. Well, that's putting buy pressure on blue for either case, and it's putting buy pressure on blue and book for the blue book bond. So that's the immediate benefit of it, and it does build up the treasury. It builds up the the liquidity that the treasury is holding. So treasuries, obviously the price of the tokens have gone down a little bit, so the treasury holdings, aren't quite as high as they've been in the past, but and also we haven't had bond markets for a while, so the treasury hasn't really been growing. So it's been pretty stagnant in terms of the token counts that it's holding. Nothing's changed here in quite a while, just the values of some of the LPs and tokens. Let's capitalize on Darcy's audience with the bonds. Yeah, I think that's a great idea, right? Like, I think that just something new to give Darcy something else to post about, to, something for her audience to do. It's like, if you haven't gotten into blue yet, great way to get in is to jump into the bond markets. And again, the cool thing about bonds is that, no matter what we set the vesting period to, I think we did 6 days, 5 days, 7 days for the three bond markets in the past. Or does it say there? We did 4 day, 5 day, and 4 day. Okay. People are earning rebases on those blue tokens while they're waiting for it to get released. So because of that, it could make sense to have a longer vesting period, because again, like, we want bonds to go more into like long-term holders' hands rather than someone that's just looking to quickly flip it, because a quick flip on bonds puts some buy pressure on blue, but then it puts even more sell pressure on blue when they look to flip it and, maybe cycle and repeat the process again. So, so one of the things that I was debating is, having a longer vesting period. And again, because of the fact that your blue is still, compounding and earning for you while it's vesting, a longer vesting period probably is a smart thing to do. As well as I wanted to have the capacities and the capacity lower and the duration longer for the bond markets. And I've talked about this in the past, like how that impacts the bond price. But essentially, when we first introduced the bond markets, just to go over it again real quick, when we first introduced the bond markets, they were roughly a week of duration, and they had a pretty high capacity. Like, I want to. This is going to be a really rough guess, but I think it was somewhere around like $20,000 to $40,000 a day worth of capacity. So basically, we needed to get, like, let's just call it 30,000. We needed to get $30,000 worth of bond purchases per day in order for the bond prices to stay even, essentially. So if we got less than that, the bond price would drop. If we got more than that, the bond price would increase. So what I'm thinking now is that, we have bond markets that instead of running them for 7 days or 6 days or whatever we did, we run them for 30 days and we make a capacity that makes sense. That's obviously a lot less than 30,000 per day. Obviously, like, I set capacity in terms of the amount of blue, not in terms of US dollars, but just comparing it to US dollars so it's easier to understand. But yeah, so I don't know, something in the ballpark of like maybe like $2,000 to $10,000 a day, somewhere in that range. Maybe even closer to the lower end there. And what that's going to do is it's going to make it so that, for one, people aren't going to be able to buy a ton of bonds at a discounted price. So the price is going to, move up on the bond if a lot of bond purchases come in right away. But like having the 30-day duration, it's basically like at any point in time in the 30 days, essentially what it's doing to calculate the price is looking at what's the total capacity, how many have we already sold, what was the starting price, and a couple other variables. But essentially, these are all the variables that determine the bond pricing. So yeah, I think something like that would make sense. So like basically like the per day capacity being quite a bit lower than it was when we initially introduced the markets, but having them run for 30 days. And yeah, I think that would work quite well. Maybe for vesting, we could even do something as high as like 14 days or 10 days or something like that. Like, let me know what you guys think about some of these parameters. And yeah, I mean, I'm good to get these bond markets set up, today or tomorrow. We got a question here. What is the downside for introducing bonds again? So I kind of briefly touched on this in what I was just explaining, but essentially bonds are giving users discounted blue. So essentially it can cause sell pressure on blue once the vesting periods expire. So, for example, like just say we introduce the bonds and nobody buys them for the first day or two, and the price of a bond now is say down to like $1, let's say. Or, you're getting a really heavy discount, like a 40% discount, let's say, to buy the bonds. And then, you can basically take that blue and sell it once the vesting period's over. So it does have the potential to create additional sell pressure, basically. Like the idea of the blue BNB bond. Yeah, that's a great one, right? Like that's the main pair for blue. So building up the liquidity on the blue BNB is definitely a priority. Book, of course. Yeah, the blue book LP is awesome too. I mean, that's putting buy pressure on both of our tokens for guys to get involved in those. So yes, longer periods better. Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think a longer period is fine. At the same time, we do want the bonds to be attractive. So it's finding that balance of what is the right vesting period where people are still going to be interested in it. And, because I mean, obviously the price of blue can fluctuate, over longer periods of time. So the longer the vesting period, it does put a little bit more risk on the bond purchaser. So yeah, if you guys have any feedback about like, how the vesting periods or what bond markets you guys would like to see, or, if bonds are something that you're going to buy into or, you're not going to. $30 days is fair. Are you talking about for vesting period? Because when I mentioned 30 days, I was talking about like the duration of the bond market, like when the bond market would, like if I started it today, it would be completed in 30 days. I mean, I don't think 30 days is crazy for a vesting period either. It does put a lot more risk on the person buying the bonds, but yeah, it's something, I mean, I'm not against 30 days for vesting. It makes me wonder a little bit if like, so one thing to take into consideration is that the longer the vesting period, the more risk on the user, which means that probably the discount on the bond would have to be a little bit greater before people would really want to start jumping into them, right? Like in the past, I've done bond markets where they only had like 1 or 2 day vesting period, and a lot of those, they got a ton of action. But the problem with that was a lot of guys used, and again, this is not with blue, this is with a different protocol. But the problem with that is a lot of guys just were looking to flip it, right? So if they can get a 20% discount on the bond and invest for 1 day, well, okay, they wait the 1 day, they claim it, they sell everything they get, and then they repeat the process. Which, I mean, something like that, it's great for building up the treasury, but it's not great for the blue price. But I mean, again, there's other variables too. I mean, it's not necessarily bad for the blue price because if bond markets can spark hype and momentum, and we can get Darcy to post about the blue bonds, and if that drives a lot more awareness and participation, that can counter that sell pressure that you get from having the discounted blue available in bonding. So I'd like to get a bit more feedback on the vesting, because I think 30 days might be a little bit long for vesting. I think I'm sitting somewhere in the 7 to 14 day range is probably numbers that make sense. Could we have a farm to stake blue book LP to earn baby blue? Baby blue. I'll tell you right now, for one, you guys know I love to launch tokens. But ever since blue was released, I always thought, if you have a baby token for blue, it's baby blue. It's a pretty cool name. But that's something that we could look into. It's that's kind of fun. But on the other hand, we do already have so many tokens in the ecosystem. So, but yeah, I like that idea. Is the goal to get long-term holders? If yes, then I still think 30 days is fair. The goal is definitely to get long-term holders. And I also think 30 days is fair. It's just that, when making these decisions, you kind of have to think from all the different angles and all the different perspectives of the different participants. And, for one, we need people to buy the bonds in order to have the bond markets be a success. And I'm just afraid of how big of a discount there would need to be before people would feel comfortable with a 30-day vesting period. That's the only thing that concerns me with that. The last thing we need now is a ton of sell pressure on the community tokens. Yeah, it's the bonds. For one, like the blue book bond, let's just say the discount's 5%. That means worst case scenario, we're going to see 5% more in sell pressure than we got on buy pressure on our tokens. For the blue BNB bond, it's a little bit different because, when people are buying into that bond, it's only half of our, ecosystem token. The other one's BNB. So that has the potential to cause a little bit more sell pressure. But either way, we need to stir up, we need something new to talk about. We need some momentum. We have Darcy that's, has a huge audience. So I think that, I think the potential for a little bit of sell pressure on blue is, I think it's something that we can deal with all the benefits that we can get with, introducing bonds. Best. Yeah. Again, a lot of things in this industry are just, making educated guesses based on past experiences and, with, the limited information that you have available. I think that our last bond markets, as much as I had to really guess all the, not guess, I've done this before, but there's still a lot of parameters that you have to kind of guess what the demand on the bonds is going to be. And then that kind of determines how you set all the different parameters that determine the price and how fast the price moves and, all these other things. So, yeah, I guess we're just trying to talk it through and, kind of use our combined experience and opinions and come up with the right parameters to set. Eric Peters says, I would suggest a vesting period for the bond somewhere between 14 and 28 days. Yeah, a longer vesting period is definitely going to remove the type of participant that's looking to just flip the bonds into blue, sell the blue, and jump back into bonds. So, it definitely addresses that. But yeah, it's just the concern of with too long of a vesting period, we do want to make sure people are still interested in buying bonds. So, I think 2 weeks, 14 days is something that probably is a pretty decent middle ground there. Is there any way of throttling the sells? What do you mean by that? I'll just say right out of the, right off the bat, the contracts are not modifiable, right? This is a pure Olympus DAO fork and everything's done the same way as them. It's immutable. There's a few parameters we can tune, largely the APR we can change. But in terms of how the tokens work or taxes or throttling or anything like that, it can't be changed. perhaps the phased vesting, 50% 14 days, the rest a further 14 days. Yeah, that would require a complete rework of the bonding system. And I'm not sure how much of a benefit that would be. It would, we want to keep things as simple as possible to get as much participation as possible. So I think we got to keep things as simple as we can. How about a token locker? 30 days gives extra % tokens. You lock up blue off the market, that may reduce sell pressure. I mean, I think like, for one, like honestly, I really appreciate you guys coming up with all these ideas and opinions. That's it's what I asked for, so I really appreciate it, and keep them coming. So if I'm just going to give my honest opinion to these, so don't take it the wrong way. But so for this one, like blue already pays like an extremely great APR. Like the yield on blue is incredible, right? Like 1.71% per day. So to lock up tokens to get extra, the amount of emissions would start to get quite high. I mean, I could see maybe something like that working in combination with like an APR reduction, perhaps, which is something else that I actually want to talk about during the AMA is, how you guys feel about an APR reduction. Like if it's, we could set up an official governance vote where G Blue holders can vote for if we should keep the APR the same or if we should drop it down a little bit. Staking index has gotten up to 7.6. So again, for anyone not familiar, that means that, if you had one blue when we launched and you staked it, you now have 7.6 blue. So, but yeah, like, I mean, I think the beauty of the blue protocol is just the fact that there's no locks of any sort, right? Like it's a protocol. You can get in anytime, you can get out anytime, you can wrap your stake blue anytime. There's no fees anywhere. There's no locks anywhere. I think like I do like that simplicity about it, and it already pays super well. So it would introduce an extra layer of complexity to have a lockup period, and the rewards have to come from somewhere without being excessive. And yeah, I appreciate the thought, but I'm not sure how great of an idea that would be or how it would work out. Random blue token reward for longest holders. Yeah, I mean, like I'd love to reward the long-term holders. I'm not sure the best way to do that though. I mean, there's data that we can get that would be able to show, how long someone's been holding, or like, and remove addresses that have sold or that have done other things. Although, I mean, again, like I think it's, we do have long-term holders that have perhaps sold a few tokens here and there. So I'm not sure that they should be disqualified from something like that. But yeah, I mean, if you want to come up with more details of how something like that could look, I'd love to take a look at it and see if we could get something going. But yeah, I need a few more details to really have an opinion on what we could do about that. Good idea to drop to 1% option to lock for extra 0.5%. Yeah, I mean, I don't think that's a horrible idea, right? Like I think 1% a day is a pretty decent return, especially when it's compounded as often as we compound it. Again, locking for an extra, adds an extra layer of complexity and takes away from the everything being unlocked aspect of the protocol. Maybe if we think on this more and think of like a fun addition to blue that's like maybe separate from the core protocol that has something to do with locking. I mean, it could potentially be funded by the blue treasury, or like, blue tokens for rewards could come from the core blue protocol. But yeah, let's have a think on that. I mean, I think that, I don't know, like I think the baby blue idea is pretty fun and cool, but again, like, in these market conditions and with, thousands and thousands and thousands of coins being created every single day, and with us already having a lot of coins in the ecosystem, all of that points me towards not launching another coin. But having said that, I obviously love launching coins, and I've launched several baby coins in the past, so quite familiar with them. But yeah, I mean, the reason I brought that up again is because like baby blue could be like a subset of blue, where maybe it could have a farm where you could earn baby blue that way, or maybe there's other things that we could build into that would make it fun. But I mean, again, the tough thing is when you introduce a new coin, like you don't like, it's hard to introduce a new coin to prop up existing coins, right? Because at the end of the day, you need more liquidity flowing into the ecosystem. And if that's not happening, then you're basically having liquidity just shuffled around the ecosystem, which obviously is not great for the existing projects, right? A bond club / subscription. Yeah, give me more details on what that means, what that would look like. Sounds interesting. Drop rewards to 1% a day. Offer extra lock option gets higher percent. Say another 0.5%, so you get 1.5% less than today's rewards, but some locked. Yeah, I mean, looking at it like from the top down, I mean, it sounds like a good idea. But again, it just there's a couple things about it I don't really love. And again, it's a lot of it has to do with like keeping things simple, right? Like right now, it's Blue is an ultra simple protocol. So to have like two options where like there's already staking and there's wrapping, that's already getting some people confused. Then if we have locking on top of that, again, I could see if it was a separate protocol, like an expansion to Blue of some sort, then that would maybe work a little bit better, because then it wouldn't really like alter the core Blue experience. And again, even if we dropped rewards to 1% a day, I still think that's pretty good. But that's definitely something that I'd want to have our G Blue holders vote on, because I mean, ultimately we want to make our holders happy. So if our holders think it's beneficial to drop the APR, then we should drop it. If our holders think it's beneficial to keep the APR at what it's at, then I think that's what we should be doing. So, but yeah, let's maybe think on this idea a little bit more, and maybe take what I said into consideration and see how we could maybe have some kind of expansion. But again, we're doing a lot of talking about Blue. I mean, I want to make sure, guys, that you guys know, like, Book is the meme coin of BNB chain. Like, we launched this before BNB chain even started to heat up. I think we launched it about 3 weeks before BNB chain really started to gain some traction. And again, with the awesome Book USD protocol that we've got around the Book token, and Book's amazing tokenomics, all the locked liquidity that's locked forever. It's just, it's just a great, coin that's going to be here forever. It's not going anywhere. We've already seen, through a mass liquidation event, that the Book USD protocol held on strong. Everything worked great. So, Book is a token that's it's going to be here for multi-cycle. It's not going anywhere. Liquidity is locked forever. And again, tokenomics are great on it. Actually, one thing I did, sorry to switch up our conversation so abruptly, but one thing I did want to talk about was Bus. I had a great community member reach out to me, and the strategy that they're using with Bus is, what they're doing is they're buying Bus on the open market and then adding it to single-sided liquidity. And essentially what that's doing for them, or and for the protocol, is it's pushing the price of Bus up. I think they're largely responsible from Bus going from 0.02 to these ranges up here, and obviously since then there's been a little bit of a sell-off with the broader market. But having people buy Bus, and whether you want to stake that or add it to single-sided liquidity, that's boosting the rewards on Bud token in the stability pool, which we'll go take a look at that. 52% APR right now. Like, it doesn't take much buy pressure at all to get that APR a lot higher, right? Like, if the Bus price doubles, which takes very little buy pressure at this price level, then all of a sudden our stability pool is paying 100% APR, and it makes that all that more exciting for guys to get into, and that ultimately helps Book. So Yeah, guys. I mean, as much as the markets aren't looking great, I mean, this is the time for us to, get together and, let's support the protocols. Let's buy some bus, get that bus price up to get the bud staking paying a little bit better. Let's pick up some book. Book is as cheap as it's ever been for the most part. I really don't think you can go too wrong buying book here. Again, book is not going anywhere. Book has a limited supply. I think we've bottomed here, right? So this is something where I'm going to be adding to my book positions substantially in the near future. For $1 amount per year, that makes it a bit exclusive. So that's in relation to the bond club subscription. So what would that get somebody then? And there are tiers that you can buy into that. Opens up shorter bond durations, vesting periods. That's an interesting idea. I think that this is something that would probably work better after we're running bonds a bit longer and we have a lot more participants in bonds. Like I think right now, like we want as many people to be buying bonds as possible. So I think like putting it behind like a subscription or like giving benefits for a subscription, I don't know if like our user base for buying bonds is big enough to warrant a system like that at this point. But I think it's something that we could definitely look into in the future. And like have certain wallets that are part of a tiered subscription, like have access to better bonds. It's an interesting idea. So in terms of the bond markets, I think what we'll do is we'll probably do the 2 LP bonds to start. Because the USDC bond, as much as it's great to build up USDC in the treasury, that's going to result in the most sell pressure on blue, and it doesn't give us any buy pressure on blue from people jumping into the bonds. So I think we'll start with the 2 LP bonds, probably with a 14-day vesting period, but still open for comment on that. So you could start as it was in the past and then start to introduce more incentives. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking, right? Like I'll introduce 2 more bond markets, just similarly to how we introduced them in the past. And let's see what kind of action we get on them. I think, again, we're going to run them for, again, not the vesting period, but like the actual duration of the bond market is going to be, I believe 30 days would be a good duration for these bond markets. So let's see what kind of action we get on them and the interest, and then we can see if it's worth expanding on the bond offerings. So what else do I got for you guys? So, one thing that I do want to do is I know that a lot of guys have been asking for stuff like competitions or raffles. Let's have a quick conversation about that. I think that when the market starts looking a little bit better than it looks right now, I think it'd probably be great to introduce some, whether it be buy competitions or meme creation competitions. Like we did that one competition on Meme Deck for, I believe it was for book. Yeah, it was for book. And we got some amazing memes created. It only cost us, I think the prize was 1 Solana, right? And we got, 100 submissions or 150 submissions, and, probably 10 to 20 of them were just like absolute top notch. So actually one of them was the picture here that we're using on Deck Screener. This came from one of the meme competition memes. I mean, I cut the text out and stuff, but yeah, we definitely got some great results from that. So let me know what you guys are thinking in terms of what competitions you'd like to see. Like if you guys want to see like raffle competitions of some sort, or buy competitions, biggest buy, last buy competitions, just to, drum up some excitement. Again, I think we should probably wait for a little bit of a bounce in the broader markets, but something that we can definitely get going pretty soon. All right, well, let me know in Telegram anyways, any ideas related to that. And yeah, I guess we'll just finish up with, hi. I guess we'll just finish up with just a recap of, yeah, I mean, Darcy's, she's really bringing a lot of attention to the ecosystem. So let's try to be active in Telegram. Let's try to push these prices up of some of our tokens a little bit, because we're getting a lot of new eyes on our tokens. So let's give them a nice chart to look at. She's pretty much equally promoting Book and Blue. So let's give her audience and her user base, a nice chart to look at, and let's be receptive when, people join the Telegrams. When Blue 200. Soon, sir, soon. Well, I mean, I don't think it's impossible to get to 200 if you factor in the staking index, right? Like, it's like, for example, like a staking index of 10 with a $20 Blue would be like the equivalent of a $200 Blue. I mean, I think that's quite possible. I mean, to see a $200 Blue without factoring in the staking index would be pretty incredible, but not impossible. But all right, guys. Anybody have any questions or comments, feedback, ideas? This is the time to post it all. We can discuss it right live on stream. And otherwise, I will get those bond markets set up. I'll get them set up within the next 24 hours, and I'll make an announcement, and we'll post on X and we'll post in the Telegram once those get created. And I'll get Darcy's next post that she sends out, unless she has the next one already ready. But I'll get a Darcy post talking about the blue bond markets once they're released. All right. Well, looks like no one's got any other comments to make. So thanks everyone for joining. It's been a fun AMA. And I'll get those bond markets set up, and all the stuff that we've been kind of openly discussing, we can definitely bring those discussions to the Telegram and also resume talking about them next AMA. So, all right, everyone, enjoy the rest of your Thursday. Enjoy the rest of your week. Hopefully the broader markets start rebounding soon. Really, I really hoping for it. So, but yeah. All right, guys, we'll see you guys next week, and take care.